Hello again. Welcome. Vegas Strong and Fearless. Vegas Strong and Fearless from Las Vegas, Nevada. It's a nice day out here. It's warm out here. I just came back from California, Newport Beach. I love that beach area. In that beach area, it reminds me of the richness of the universe, the richness of my God, the richness of life, the richness of nature. Nature is perfect. Nature is in increase mode, in the development mode. That's the way you should be. That's the way I should be. I begin my show every week by saying, the Father and I are one. The Son and Jesus Christ, as the Father and His Son, Jesus Christ, are one with me. The Spirit of God and I are one. That's tremendous power. When you think about that power in Him, you have it. I have it. And so, just like last week, as we're talking about becoming rich, you serve a rich God. You walk around, if you like it or not, the creator of this universe is rich. It doesn't matter if you believe it or if you don't believe it. It's reality. Just like my president. By the way, he is my president. I may not agree with him totally. But President Trump, he is my president. As I live here in the United States. Rich man. I respect him. I've read his books. It doesn't matter if I agree with him or not. He's rich. It's the same thing with the creator of this universe. You may not agree, you may not believe, it doesn't really matter. He's rich. As I went out to the beach that other night, or the other day, Newport Beach, I put my feet in the ocean. I recognized the richness of my God. We've been looking at this subject, getting rich. This is a book we've been studying. The Science of Success. And one of the first chapters that we studied last week, the right to be rich. You have a right to be rich. It's up to you and myself to be rich. I think last week I mentioned in the show, I believe the root of all evil is poverty. You know, you've heard, if you go to church or if you've been in churches, the root of all evil is money. I disagree with that one, but it's another study as we talk about money in the Bible on my other show. And if you're not looking at my other show, I hope you watch the other show. And I think you're going to enjoy that other show. It talks about the spiritual aspect, the Living Kingdom, church.com, all about the spiritual. This show is the holistic concept. And part of it, as we study this book, is the science of success. We want you strong and fearless, wherever you find yourself. Today's topic will be, there is a science in getting rich. There is a science of getting rich. I remember when I was in high school, I had a science class, and we used to do some testing. And it always came out with a particular result because it was a science, and the end was that particular result. It's the same thing of when we deal with this concept. Of money. Now, richness, we're talking about money, but at the same time, we're talking about the holistic idea of richness mentally and physically and spiritually. But right now, we're talking about money. I hope you're taking some notes, because if you do certain things in a certain way, you will be rich. It's a science. Number one, it's an exact science. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 5 times 5 is 25. You know, if you know anything about mathematics, which I don't, by the way, but I know enough to know that it's an exact science. I'm so amazed by when they shoot satellites into the orbit, and there's some connections of the satellites connecting to another satellite. They have to have the exact measurements. They have to be exactly right in their mathematical makeup for it to occur, and it occurs. So number one point, it's an exact science. If you do things in a certain way, you will be rich. Number two, doing things in a certain way. There's a law I teach. It's the law of action. It's doing something. In fact, I was just talking to my webmaster, and we were talking about money. And we were talking about the idea of everybody wants to be rich, but it's not just going to come from heaven. It's not just going to sprinkle money. No, you got to do something to make it happen. Just like I've talked in the past, you have to have a definiteness of purpose. How do you expect to be rich? Well, let's look at my president for a moment. How did he get rich? Well, he bought real estate and property and buildings, and sooner or later, he became rich. Henry Ford began to work with machineries and build an automobile, became rich. Edison played around with electricity and other gimmicks, became rich. If you know any other individuals that are rich, they did something. It's not just going to come knocking on your door and here's $1 million. No, you got to do something to get rich. The law of doing, the law of attraction, you're like a magnet. You know, what are you attracting in order to get rich? You have to do something. It might be in the area of art. It might be in the area of sports. It might be in the area of technology. I don't know. But you got to do something to get rich. Number 3, not a matter of environment. Well, I don't live in the right place. I can't get rich. I live in a slum. I live in a ghetto. I live in a situation where the economy is not good. I live in a place where everybody's unemployed. My environment is poor because I'm a Mexican, or I'm black, or I live in the hills, it doesn't matter what your environment is. If you have that environment concept that I can't get rich because of my environment, you already failed. Just like I said last week, you may get 2 people, one rich person in a particular environment, another poor person in the same environment. One gets rich, one remains poor, but the same environment. Why? This rich person did something to get rich. So if you want money, you got to do something, but you got to lose this idea, my environment is not good. Now, you got to keep in mind, you got to be smart in your environment, yes. I mean, you're not going to begin to sell ice cream in Alaska and say, well, I want to get rich. Or if you live here in Las Vegas, 110 degrees, well, I think I'll begin getting rich by producing fur coats and jackets, 110 degree weather. That's not going to happen. That's not one way to get rich. So you got to focus in, and there's plenty of things to focus in to do to get rich. But you got to be intelligent and pick the right things to do. Don't spin your wheels. Do things in a certain way. Number 4 is not a matter of talent. You know, I used to grow up, or as I was growing up, I said, I wish I had his talent. I wish I had her talent. I wish I could sing. I wish I could write. I wish I could. And I made a whole list. And one day I just realized, wait a minute. They have the same talent or the same ability and the opportunity they have or had, I have too. Might be a different type of formation or idea, but it had nothing to do with talent. I mean, I can't sing a lick. I can't play an instrument. So my richness won't be found there. But I tell you what, I could speak, I could talk, I could create, I have ideas, I could write. Okay. Now we're talking about that it's not a matter of environment or talent. By the way, it's not a matter of savings either. It's not well, if I could save money, it's important to save money, but you won't be rich if you're just putting it away. Now, number 5, doing things in a certain way. I want to act rich. I want to talk rich. My body language is going to project richness. I'm going to think rich. Because if you're thinking, like I said, you're a magnet, and that's what's going to begin to attract those richness. It's not a certain business. You know, people say, well, if I could just have this kind of business, I'll be rich. No. You got to deal with where you're at. What are the needs? I was talking about Webmaster again. This virus situation is changing a lot of people's outlook in getting rich. It's not business as usual. You got to put in your thinking cap and say, well, people aren't doing things like they used to. So we got to change and do it this way now. You know, restaurants aren't full like they used to be. However, the smart ones, utilizing the computers and online and the Ubers, they're still selling. It's just a matter of changing their way of thinking. That's why I'm saying, doing things in a certain way. Thoughts and feelings equal results. Let's think about this one. The power of the mind is powerful. As I mentioned in the past, the formless substance, and I call it God, came up with a thought, and the formation, the result, was a creation. So, you need to think rich. You need to think. Example. Let's begin to think certain things here. If I think health, I feel healthy. If I think strength, I feel strong. If I think rich, I feel rich. If I think happiness, I feel happy. If I think sadness, I'm going to feel sad. You get the point? Thoughts are very, very important. In fact, thoughts constitute the beginning of your journey into becoming rich. Because if you're not thinking rich, if you're not thinking money, then you're not feeling rich. You're not feeling that you have money. Think. Abundancy, the word abundancy, I feel abundantly. Thought. Do things in a certain way. The law of attraction, the definiteness of purpose, the law of action, doing, the law of cause and effect, I think. The effect is, I think love, I feel love. I think hate, I feel hatred. I think joy, I feel joyful. I think hope, I feel fulfilled and full of hope. You see, it's all a thought process. And then link up to your divine oneness, the Almighty, the formless substance. If you can conceive it, you can achieve it. So real quickly, number one, an exact science. Number two, doing things in a certain way. Number three, not a matter of environment. Number four, not talent. Number five, doing things in a certain way. Number six, not a certain business. Number seven, thought plus feelings equals results. Number eight, do things in a certain way. It's up to you to do these principles, follow these principles. And I could assure you, not because of what I'm going to tell you, but I could assure you, you will be rich because it's an exact science. And we will close with that and we'll continue on this particular book next week. As I become rich, because I'm doing things in a certain way, I'm acting in a certain way, I want you to be a part of this richness and learn to give. If you give to this program with your debit card, my homepage, it is better to give than to receive, they say, and I believe it. That's part of richness. You know, people that have a lot of money, a lot of people, you'd be amazed at the amount of money they give. They give, and it comes back. There's certain principles I don't understand, but all I know, it's an exact science. Becoming rich. God bless you. Enjoy your journey. Keep in touch with me. We'll see you next week.